Yep, it's us again, and we're coming at you with some big news, and we got some stuff that we got to get off our chest. First of all, let me start this off by saying I was wrong. I apologize. You know, I believed that Ohio State was more dominant than what they were. I didn't give Oregon enough credit. And you know what the sad thing is?
What's
I,
that?
I did this hit section on the radio for 97 on the fan down here in Columbus on Saturday. Right after I got done doing the Big Ten show, I was headed to the airport and the Columbus radio called me and wanted me to do like a little 10-minute hit section. So I'm up there and I'm talking about this game. And I'm up there talking about, yeah, like blah, blah, blah. We got this and that. And then they was like, yeah, but they got Jordan Birch. Jordan Birch is their best DN. I was like, yeah, but he's not playing. He's out for this game. And when I said that, I was like, you know what the crazy thing is? The last time we played Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau was out and they still beat us. But I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. That ain't going to happen this time. And after I hung the phone up, I said, that's crazy that is odd that they are similar like that. So I put a little bad juju on the Buckeyes by saying that. But overall, I'm disappointed. I am. Going into it, I thought the biggest question mark would be Will Howard. I wanted to see how he played in big games. And I tell you what, I don't put the blame on him. He did exactly. He did exactly what you wanted a quarterback to do. He made all the throws that he needed to make. He made the plays that he needed to make. I think the turning point of this game came right when they lost Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons and Tegra Shabola, they both went down. Josh Simmons, they're saying might be out for the rest of the season, which is crazy because they got him as like one of the top tackles in this upcoming draft, which nobody talked about. Nobody talked about how good Josh Simmons is as a left tackle, but I think that's going to be a big blow. You think about when Travion broke those two back-to-back runs, they were to the left side, right there in the B gap, right where Josh Simmons would be. And I promise you, after that happened, we really didn't see them running the ball too much after that. Defensively, I'm at a loss for words. I've been dealing with this for what's the day? Wednesday. I've been dealing with this for 4 days. I don't know what happened. I don't maybe I was drinking the Kool-Aid. You seem much more calm about this than I am.
I'm very calm about it because I don't think it's that big a deal.
Why? Because it was the number 3 team?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of things. Number one, they're a really good team. It was a road game. Ohio State played well enough to win the game. They did not, but I don't know many people, Tyvis, that watched that game that felt that Ohio State was not the better team. Yeah, they lost, and that stinks. But this is not last year. This is not when you played. This is not when I played with the BCS. This is a 12-team playoff year where teams who lose 2-3 games sometimes, or could be the case this year, will make the playoffs. Ohio State's a playoff team. They're going to get in. I have no doubt. I think they'll probably run the table. I'd be very surprised if they don't. With that being said, it does stink that they lost a game. I was up in the enemy territory, so to speak, over the weekend in Michigan doing my college game at Central Michigan, and I was listened to it driving back, caught a little bit of it. Obviously watched it back since, but I thought that there were some mistakes made by Ohio State. There were some busts. There were some coverage issues, and you and I texted about some of the secondary problems they had that I think could be cleaned up. I mean, listen, Ohio State has better players. They do. That doesn't mean you're going to win every single game, and clearly that didn't happen in this particular game. But there were bright spots. There were moments where, I really thought that that Ohio State was impressive, and so, the committee is going to look at this game as a good loss, and that's something that Ohio State fans probably don't want to hear. But dude, Buckeyes are really good, man.
But
Really
I
good.
think that
My biggest concern, my biggest, sorry to cut you off, Times. My biggest concern with this team is not the players. It's the X's and O's. It's the
really.
coaching. That's my concern.
Are you wait? What side of the ball are you referring to? Defensively? Because
I would say both sides of the ball. I think our head coach is a really good coach that, for whatever reason, has not had success against top 5 teams. You know, what matters the most, has not had success against the team up north, and that ultimately is what gets you fired. I don't think he will be fired. I don't think he deserves to be fired. I'm not saying that at all. I'm telling you that that's how Buckeye Nation is, and I get it, man, and you get it. You played there. I played there. Different times, different eras, different coaches, but still the same thing. You got to win. You got to beat your rival, and you got to win the conference title, and you got to go compete for national championships. Ohio State has everything that in front of them in terms of all those things still for this year, as they're 5-1, 2-1 in conference play. And you know, that was the first test, Tyvis, man, for the season. First test for Ohio State, a true test where they actually, at some points, probably felt like, man, we have a chance to lose this game. Not once this year do those players feel that. So that's something that they can hopefully learn from. Again, there's more to break down and talk about in this game, but my overall thoughts are not as negative as some people may have thought. And by the way, man, when we did this podcast last week, I predicted Ohio State would win by 3 points, which means I thought it was going to be a close game. And by the way, they could have won by 3 points. Excuse me, they could have won by 2 points had they been able to kick that field goal there, assuming they make it and win the game. But I just thought it was going to be a close game, and it was.
No, see, the thing, that's why I said maybe I was drinking the Kool-Aid.
You were. You do all the time, but that's okay.
It's not true. That's not true at all.
Oh,
Listen.
You live in Columbus. Look at how we're dressed right now. Okay, you're wearing your Buckeye gear. I'm just wearing
we
normal
both contributed. We both are on there. You see that?
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But my point in saying that is that you're a little like you're less removed or shorter removed. I can't speak apparently right now, but
Shorter
you know what I'm saying. Like you're a player who played more recently. How about that?
Listen. The reason that I felt the way I felt is because I watched them play this season. And don't get me wrong, I knew it was against lesser opponents. I understood that. But the thing that I thought was that we could run the ball. Like I thought we was running the ball effectively, which we were. And B, I thought that our defense was going to be so good that it was like no weaknesses. But the part when we talk about this Oregon game, the part that bothers me the most is the fact that the pass rushers, really what it is the guys that decided to come back for another year defensively were the biggest at fault in this game. And that part bothers me the most because, dude, you could have went to the NFL last year and you wouldn't be worried about this. Like some of you guys were 2nd round picks, maybe 1st round picks, and you guys decided to run it back essentially, to win national championships, boost your stock, all of those things. And you guys were kind of the worst ones in this game. And I don't understand it. We talk about Jack Sawyer, we talk about JTT. Obviously, Denzel had a bad game. Those 3 guys all were draft eligible and all were highly thought after. And all 3 of those guys did nothing in this game, and that bothers me. Like, how do you do that? Like the thing that the D-line thing is unbelievable to me because these guys, both of them, 5-star recruits, so it's not a talent thing. We've seen moments where both of these guys have dominated their competition, but we don't see it consistently enough. And I want to know, we need to get to the bottom of why that is. Why is it that this guy can't go out there and dominate each and every game? Like he should. It's not like you can't because you put it on tape that you can't. Now the problem is why aren't we seeing it on a consistent game in, game out basis? That separates the good from the great. It's the fact that you can be consistent. We talk about the secondary. The secondary is ridiculous to me because these guys, all of them are draft prospects, except for Caleb Down got like a year, 2 more years, I think. But he will be a top prospect in the draft when it comes up. And why is it that last year you guys harped on not giving up explosive plays? That was the number one thing. We're not going to give up no explosives. and I think they led the country in least explosive plays given up. Till fast forward this year, you give up a bunch of explosives. And if these drives if Oregon was scoring on 14, 15 play drives, so be it. That's part of the game. You get fatigued. They had the ball for like 2 minutes. Some of these touchdowns like 2 minutes, minute 40. So like these were some quick hitters. That's an issue to me. Like that's something that needs to be addressed. We don't get pressure on the quarterback. Dylan Gabriel stood back there and patted that ball all dang day, like it had all the time in the world, which then marriage to the fact that the DBs, you for 4 to 5 games, you guys have been not have to worry. We got covered for like 4 seconds. The D line's getting back there. Boom, the ball is out. We make a play on the ball. To where we ain't getting no pressure at all. We're not used to covering for 6 or 7 seconds. And now all of a sudden these guys is wide open and now we getting beat like a drum. Lastly, when the ball is in the air, we have this thing as DBs, and it's been like this for a couple years. For some odd reason, we panic when the ball is in the air. And I don't understand. You would know this because you play corner. You know when you checking that wide receiver, you ain't got to look back for the ball because you know when it's coming. It's something about that wide receiver that just his eyes get big, he lock in.
Yeah.
Like, you know that ball is on the way. The fact that this, I know we panic every time that happens. Where they see the receiver do that, the first thing they do is they go boom. They look back for the ball as well, and they not even in phase to make a play on the ball. So that bothers me as well. That we panic but then you got guys that's grabbing and holding on to guys. I think we had like two or three holding or DPIs like that. It bothers me. It bothers me. You can't win games. You're not going to win games like that. I thought about the fact I always take things and say, all right, we took this team, this defense, and we had to play the Texas, the Alabamas, the Georgias, those type of teams. Will our secondary be able to hold up? Will our pass rush get there? And against Oregon, it was non-existent. And I don't think you're going to win a lot of games that way. So that, to me, is the problem that I see. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think that...
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm overreacting.
Oh, man, I don't know that you're wrong. I don't know that you're overreacting. I think that we all need to probably take a deep breath after this game and realize that if Ohio State just does like 1 or 2 more things in terms of just discipline, like just don't give up that touchdown before halftime, right?
Yeah.
Just maybe a penalty here or there. Like it's not that I think Ohio State could have won that game.
No, Dustin. They should have won the game.
Right. No.
Let
me finish, Mr. Powell.
Go ahead.
So I think when I say they could have won that game, yes, they should have won that game. But I'm saying they could have won that game by 3 scores, I think. I think they're that much better than Oregon. I think that Dan Lanning probably outclassed Ryan Day in this game, particularly at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll get to that rule.
Oh, by the way, I just got an alert that the NCAA is fixing that rule. There's no longer.
That's no surprise. But listen, kudos to him for taking advantage of it when nobody, including myself or Ryan Day and his staff or the players, knew that was something that was not a dead ball foul. So that's sort of a strange thing that they're going to fix, and they're going to fix it like now.
Oh yeah, they did. No, I'm telling you, they fixed it right now.
So you're telling they fixed it to the point where tomorrow night when I do my game at Marshall, this rule is in effect.
NCAA closes loophole for illegal substitution after Oregon 12-man penalty versus Ohio State. The NCAA has issued a new rule wow, I can't even speak today. Interpretation following a highly controversial tactic used by Oregon in a narrow win over Ohio State this weekend. Blah, 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 blah. After the 2-minute timeout in either half, if the defense commits a substitution foul and 12 or more players are on the field and participating in a down, officials will penalize the defense for the foul and at the option of the offended team, Reset the game clock back to time displayed at the snap. Boom.
Okay.
There it is. Right? Hot off the presses. 10 minutes ago.
I mean, people are blaming Will Howard for not going down sooner. Okay, fine. Will Howard didn't that's a tough thing to have that clock in your head when you're running. I mean, I guess it's different.
I wonder if he realized it was 6 seconds, or do you think he thought it was still 10? Because the way he played it, I thought he might have thought it was. I tell you what, listen, this is the beauty about being in Columbus is that you get to hear a player speak. So I listened to Will Howard speak after the game, and because we talked about this on the radio the other day, he said that the play call was a flood. He understood they had one timeout. They called a flood and wanted to get the ball out of bounds. They were looking to get 15 yards on that play. Now, the problem with all of that being said is, one, you got a timeout. You don't need to run the ball. You don't need to throw it out of bounds. You could throw it wherever you want and call the timeout. You know, you go back to Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen in that thriller in the playoffs. Travis Kelce runs a bang 8. They hit it straight down the middle, call the timeout, kick a field goal to either win or send it in overtime, whatever the heck it was. So that's what you could have did. But neither here nor there. The fact that you said you was trying to get 15 yards, that's crazy to me too. Because guess what? How many yards do you get?
Couldn't run it.
Wait a minute. How many yards do you get for a 15-yard offensive pass? For an offensive PI. 15. So why didn't you just run the ball when you was on the 28 to begin with? Why did you try to throw it and get all fancy?
Yeah, at the time, how many timeouts did the Buckeyes have?
One.
They had one left. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you're in a good spot. I'm sure that Ryan. Listen, I'm sure in the back of Ryan Day's mind, he's thinking about the Georgia,
1000%.
You don't ever, and I totally understand that because you and I both see it every week. College kickers are
they like
interesting animals, man. They're like head cases. So I totally get that. I would not want to put the game on my kicker, especially in a game that has like the magnitude of the Ohio State Oregon game where it's, top 5 teams. I wouldn't want my kicker in that spot. I'd rather go down and try to get a touchdown, or at least like make it a chip shot field goal. You know what I mean? Like, let's get it to the 10-yard line.
You could also do that by, run the ball.
No, I understand. At 28 seconds, what was the clock? I don't have the play-by-play in front of me. Do you have it by chance?
I don't have it in front of me. But.
Yeah, well, I'll have it here momentarily. So with 28 seconds to go, here we go. The final drive. 28 seconds. Bam. Okay. Oregon 28 with 28 seconds. How about that? So you got one timeout.
At that point, I thought we won. Like, it was done to me. Like,
so that funny about that is I was in the car listening to Keels and Lachey, who it's so nice to listen to those guys.
I know, great.
When you don't always have the opportunity to be in the car, it's like you watch it on TV and it's great, but like listening to those dudes, it just makes me smile. Paul Keel's the voice of God. Jim Lachey is just the best. So anyway, so I'm listening to those guys talk, and I'm thinking when they made the catch that got it to the 28, like you said, Ibuka gets the first down. I'm like, this game is over. They're gonna just grind away the final, 28 seconds or whatever it is, and win the game. I personally don't think you could run the ball there, though. I mean, with 28 seconds left and one timeout, you have to conserve the timeout so that you can get the field goal unit on the field. So I totally understand why they're throwing the ball there. I just think it was a bad. And by the way, I don't know that it was a great call in terms of the PI.
Oh, it was a terrible call. That was the
contact was initiated by
the guy was pressed up like that. I'm gonna tell you, 99.8% of the time that's not being called. 99.8, they're not calling that. But that was a terrible. I ain't gonna say it wasn't offensive PI because it was. So he did push off. But like I say, if a guy is pressed up and that contact happens, that's just part of the game.
Agreed. And like I said this to you guys on our chat. Did you watch the whole game? Did you see how physical both sides were playing and how the officials officiated the game to allow the contact, to allow the physicality to happen. That to me is something that should be like considered in every moment. Like if you're going to let these guys play, the players get used to how the officials call the game. I've been in many games, and you have too, where we're playing, whether it be press coverage, maybe it's covered too, I don't know, but you get away with a little bit more in certain games with certain official crews where you don't in other games.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, by the way, what was that? Was that crew from the Big Ten? Do we know?
have no idea.
That's worth a Google search, right?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because
they definitely have some money down on it. I tell you that.
I don't know they had money down on it, but I do think these crews can be a little biased towards their conference.
They took Oregon on the money line.
Don't get me started. I had the Buckeyes money line, dude.
Yeah, I know another.
I actually so I took it at halftime.
Oh, really?
When they were down a point, yeah, and I also had the Buckeyes first half money line, which was just absolutely fun to watch them give up that touchdown with a minute to go. Just awesome. Aside from the financial interest I had, I am an alum, and I was very frustrated with all of it. But
that's what this is about.
I put my money where my heart is sometimes.
I tried to do +4. You know what? If I did +14, though, that would have been bad. I'm glad I talked myself out of it. I just listen. Am I worried? No. Do I think the Buckeyes went out? Yeah. Obviously, they can't. What the problem with it is with the new, like you said, with the new CFP, they're fine. I'm not worried about that. But it does mean that they can't afford another slip up no more. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can't go to Penn State and lose to Penn State. Because if you lose to Penn State, then the committee says, well, what's your top win? Iowa? Like, who did you beat? Who is your big win? Iowa. So it makes that Penn State game have a little bit more weight to it. And they better not lose the last game. Like that's
if they lose to Michigan this year, the staff will be fired.
I don't listen. Listen.
Oh, there's no question.
Hey, they got the number one.
And I love these guys. I love Ryan Day.
You know, right?
I don't think you're getting anybody better than Ryan Day.
You got the recruit class.
Dude, Michigan stinks.
I agree.
They stink.
Yeah,
like they are a very bad football team right now. They don't have a quarterback. They still have a good defense, but like they can't move the ball. And like Ohio State just has way better athletes than Michigan, and certainly we've got a quarterback, and they don't.
You saying the same thing that we've been saying for the past 3 years too.
Yeah, well, and not to mention the fact that
everything you just said is the same thing we said for the past 3 years. Maybe quarterback wise last year, maybe you give JJ, but certainly you take a CJ Stroud over all of them, man. And on paper, talent wise, is it not even a question, but
The other point I was making is that Ohio State's at home against Michigan. So if you can't win at home against a team that is not as good, not even close to as good as they were a year ago, which you almost beat them then on the road, and you've upgraded at quarterback, dude, you got to win this game. Got to beat Michigan this year. It's unexcusable if you don't. What are you smiling and laughing about? You don't agree?
No. Fire him for who? Who you getting?
Bro, I didn't say that they should fire him. I'm telling you that he will be fired.
And then they're going to replace him with who?
Somebody not as good.
Oh, man. We'll see. We'll see.
You understand that I like Ryan Day. I
like
their staff. I am only telling you what I think will happen. Not that I think it's the right call, but it's just the reality of the deal. Like if you can't beat Michigan this year, you lost to Oregon, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. They would have to, I think, for him to save his job, have to win the national championship.
You're talking about if they lost to the Wolverines?
Correct. If they have 2 losses, they lose to Oregon and they lose to Michigan, the final game of the year, still probably get into the playoff, depending on what happens with some of the other, really good teams across the country and the other conferences. But I still think Ohio State would probably get into the playoff. And at that point in time, with 2 losses and you get in, you better win the Natty, because if you don't, then it's another, another top 5 team you lost to, plus Michigan, plus Oregon this year. Like, it's just not, the results don't equate to you keeping your job.
I'm not even going to comment on the Wolverines game because every time I've done it.
Yeah, look, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Like, that game is not for a month.
Yeah, every time I say something, it comes back to bite me. So therefore, I'm leaving my comments out of that. All I'm focused on right now is fixing the defense, because ever since Jim Knowles has gotten here, and this might be a part of the fact that he was a Big 12 coach, and scoring they didn't care about that much because they just outscored each other. But
yeah, he was at Oklahoma State?
Yeah, yes. And he had I think he had the number 1 defenses back then too.
Yeah, they were really good, but the Big 12 notoriously not known for defense. So
right. But
I guess surprised, because he did a good. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
They said the Georgia game, the Oregon game, and 2 of the 3 losses, or maybe 3 of the losses, whatever. Yards wise, he's given up 1,900 yards and 149 points in just those 5 games alone. That is so. Every time that they go up against somebody that's as talented as them, the defense doesn't show up. And that's a problem. That's a big problem to me, that y'all can't win the big games defensively. Because offensively, I can't. You scoring 30. What they scored 29, whatever the heck they scored. You should go on to win that game. And the fact that you didn't, because your defense has let you down time and time. Even the Georgia game, when they lost the Georgia game a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Sorry, there's a leaf. You hear that?
Yeah, what's going on there, man?
Leaf blower. Anyways, so even when they lost the Georgia game, they were up 14 points in that game, and the defense completely just
another game. You know what? I'm done betting Ohio State in big games. Done. I'm retired. I'm quitting. Because that game, bro, I was counting my money. They're up 14 the second half.
But it's an issue that really needs to be talked about. The fact that the defense continues to not show up in these top matchups. That to me, as you know, and I didn't make the phrase, but it's the truth. Defense wins championships. And our defense, since 2019, we have not held up our end of the bargain. We have not. We just have not lived up to what. Don't get me wrong, they've been close. Last year, it was a really good defense. I think they were top 5 in the country, actually. But they didn't they didn't get the takeaways, and they didn't get the sacks when it matters the most. And still to this day, that holds true. And they got to find a way to get over that hump. Now, this bye week comes at a perfect time for them. They need time to really look at it, reassess some things. I mean, you can't have a play where you got 2 guys pass rushing and 9, you dropping 9 in coverage. Did you see that play that's on Twitter going viral?
Which one is it? Oh, yeah, they rushed the 2 and they dropped 9. And all the D line drop, and this is on the touchdown. We've got 2 guys rushing Dylan Gabriel as we're in 0 coverage on the outside, and poor Denzel Burke is stuck out there, and he's the one that the cameras show after the touchdown he screwed it up. Yeah, I mean, he got beat, but I'm pretty sure Deion Sanders would have got beat there, in his prime.
That's what I'm saying. So a lot of people, they looking at the thing oh, Denzel got beat like a drum. Stuff like that was going on. Don't get me wrong. He got beat. He got beat. But it's some other factors that play into it. And the last thing I'm going to address, has it ever been a time that somebody spit in your face?
Thankfully, no, because they wouldn't be alive.
Okay, so you're saying if somebody spit in your face,
I think it's one of the most disrespectful things you can do.
So what if let's say you was playing in a big time game at Ohio State and the guy spit in your face.
What would I do? I don't know. I would be so upset, but I guess it depends. If you did it to me now, I'm 42 years old, and I don't really put up with a lot of BS anymore. So I'd be very upset. When I was 20 years old playing for Ohio State, I don't know how I would have responded. because I had people talk trash to me all the time, and I was never a trash talker. Like I was just kind of kept it even
Oh,
field.
I was like Sidney Dean of White Man Can't Jump. Like
I
I can
dude,
talk with
I
the
can
best.
see it from you. I can see it from you now.
I can talk with the best.
But I just didn't.
I would just tell you right now, when he spit in that man's face, and that man just turned and looked at the ref, I lost about a lot of respect that day. Like I did, like because that is like you say, the ultimate form of disrespect. And the fact that I'd have been honest with you. Back if I was playing, somebody spit on my face, I would have said, "We got Malik. We'll be fine. I'm getting ejected out of this game. Like I'm going to jail. Like, like I'm what the kids call crashing out. That's what I'm doing. I see red. I don't care about nothing at that moment, but him dying on this field. And
Right.
I don't even condone bullying or violence. But that day right there, it'd be a cold day in heck and H if you think that this man gonna spit in my face and just live to see another day. Like that's just not gonna happen. So that to me was the most mind-boggling. The guy, it's something that I think about every 15 minutes. I can't believe that this man spit in this man's face and he's still walking today. So
I would give I'd give who was it, by the way, the defensive
Davison
back?
Igbinosun.
Yeah. So I give him a lot of credit because he kept his cool.
I agree.
And
he's better than me.
I don't know, man. Like in that moment, I probably would have been looking for the official too. Because
nah, it ain't even because at that point it ain't even about the game no more. It's not even about the game of football no more.
I hear you, man. But like when I was out there and certain stuff had happened, I tried to think about my teammates first, and then if I was selfish,
they'd have called me selfish. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got Malik though. We had Malik Hooker, so some people would prefer him anyway. So therefore, we'd have been fine. We'd have been fine.
I think they'd have preferred anybody other than me, but that's okay. That's another story.
All right, that about wraps it up.
Hey, by the way, before we go, we're not going to do it now, but we're gonna tease it for next week. Two things. Number one, we have to talk about your tennis game because I saw the video and I've got thoughts. Number two,
like that, look good, didn't I?
We'll talk about that later. So it's Wednesday, October 16th. When we come on the air again for this chat next week, it'll be the 23rd. Will we be talking about the Guardians advancing to the World Series? Yeah, that's not a lot of confidence there, partner. You're wearing the hat, though.
I'm going to always wear the hat, but I can't. Right now, where we're at, I don't see it. I don't.
Well, it's been a great show.
We're going to leave that to Bull and Zach.
And here's the other good news, Tyvis, is that the Buckeyes can't lose this weekend.
With that being said, I'll cheers to that. With that being said, we'll catch y'all next week. Always forever though. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.